Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is David, this is David K Reacts, and today I am going to be doing two firsts in this video. The first one is I'm going to be reacting to a piece of music that is not a song by a band or a cover or anything like that. This is a piece of music from a movie. And the second thing is, it is a piece of music I have heard before, and indeed am very familiar with. So this is going to be an analysis video, not a reaction and analysis. But I was listening to this again. It popped up on a podcast I was listening to. And it was just so interesting to me, and I thought the visuals that go with it are so interesting that they kind of go with my style of how I choose to look at these things. And so it seemed like a prime candidate to test this on. It's also possible this is going to get shut down in a flash because, you know, Marvel and Disney might take exception to me doing this. And it's my first time doing something that's has quite such a heavy hitter, watching over it. But we'll see how this goes. This is Porch, written by Alan Silvestri for the soundtrack of Avengers: Infinity War. This is the very final piece of music that we hear in the film before the credits roll. So this is what we black out to. And it's just so stunningly effective that I wanted to talk about it. Before I go any further, massive spoiler alert for this entire video. It's 2018 movie. I feel like statute of limitations might still be there for people who caught on to Marvel late in the day, or younger folks who haven't yet seen everything. If you have not seen Avengers: Infinity War, do not watch this video unless you want the plot spoiled for you, because I am going to talk about it in a small but reasonable amount of detail. So before I begin, firstly, welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. If you're new, what I would normally do is I would be reacting to a piece of music I've never seen before, or a music video I've never seen before, and I would watch it straight through without pausing, and then go back and analyze it. I have a feeling that watching this straight through without pausing is going to get this video blocked immediately. So I am actually going to treat this purely as the analysis part of my video. Let me know what you think about that. If you think that having the initial watch through is missing, then I'll see what I can do. But I do feel like I'm touching on, even with fair use policies in place, which of course this is under because reaction videos are fair use. This is something that is sort of pushing the boundary a little bit. Then I would, as I say, go back and analyze things, and that's all I'm doing this time around. So I'm gonna pause it from the outset and just talk about it, because I think this is such a cool piece of music, and it's so interesting in context. Please do like this video if you enjoy. Subscribe, hit the notification bell if you'd like to know when I post videos. Normally 5 p.m. EST every Friday, and hopefully a little more than that as I get some time. It's just I'm very limited right now. And yeah. You could also head over to buymeacoffee.com/DavidKReacts if you would like to donate to support the channel. And until the end of January 2023, I am also donating 50% of the proceeds that I get through that account to the PTSD Association of Canada. Okay, I think that's everything. I'm going to just jump into this thing, and let's see how it goes. So, a little bit of scene setting first. This is the final piece of music, as I said, for Avengers: Infinity War. The super brief version of the plot is that the Avengers have been dashing around trying to stop the Mad Titan Thanos from collecting the 6 Infinity Stones. Once he has all of them, he says in a snap of his fingers, he can basically obliterate 50% of all species. So the universe will just get halved. And despite incredible struggles and a lot of sacrifice, the Avengers do not succeed in stopping him. And actually, 5 minutes before the end of the film, he gets all 6 stones, he snaps, and 50% of all life vanishes in clouds of dust. That has happened before we see the beginning of this. This is the end of the scene where we see all of the characters disappearing that we're going to lose. And the biggest thing that I think is of import that puts the context into what I'm about to talk about is that the protagonist of Avengers Infinity War is Thanos himself. He's not the good guy. You're not rooting for him to win. But if you look at all the things that make up a story arc, like who goes through change, where the crisis point happens, who does it affect the most, the big thing is your job as a writer is to stick your protagonist up a tree and throw rocks at him. Thanos is the one having rocks thrown at him the entire way throughout this movie. And the Avengers themselves, sure, there's character development, but they don't have a full arc throughout this film. They have a full arc that starts at the beginning of this film and ends at the end of Avengers Endgame. Thanos' arc ends now, at the end of this. He is the protagonist of this movie, and so it is very fitting that we finish on him. And that's what we're about to see here, is... and I'm giving this context because I'm not going to play it straight through, so I can just start talking about it. He has done his job. He has wiped out 50% of all life in the universe. It's for, from his perspective, a positive reason. He does it because of overpopulation. His home planet of Titan became overpopulated, and he'd said earlier, look, we need to cull our population or everybody is going to die. Nobody listened to him. He was outcast from his planet, and 50% didn't die. 100% did, because the overpopulation that he foresaw went ahead and happened. So he is now on a quest to stop that happening to the universe by removing 50%. You might say, why does he not create additional resources? Let's not go into that plot hole. But he's doing this for what he deems to be a positive reason. And so, having wiped all these people out, we have the screen. Here is the screen that we start on. We start on this screen of despair. Rhodey, Rocket, Bruce, Steve, looking distraught, Vision dead. And the next shot... And I'm starting here because the music starts here. But over the first couple of notes, we cut to the next shot. And we see Thanos at the end of his day. He's not necessarily happy, but he is satisfied because he has completed his quest. He has achieved what he set out to do, and now he can rest. So that's where we are. And just listen. This is an action movie. We've been watching a gargantuan battle for 15-20 minutes, however long it runs, I don't know. And this is the piece of music that finishes an action movie. Oh, I always do that. I mean, how's that for a start? Double bass note right down the bottom, and then that lovely cello line, rich, down at the bottom register of the cello. It's not, we're not getting high strings here. We're getting somber, mellow, sad, which is not what you would expect. I mean, it's what you would expect from the Avengers, how they're feeling. It's not what you expect from the end of a movie, of an action movie. You expect pomp and circumstance and some big fanfare or, celebratory piece of music, and you get this. It's so doleful. And it speaks of sadness. And it's not just the sadness of the Avengers. I think it's the sadness of Thanos, too. What a destiny to put upon oneself, to destroy half of life in the entire universe, and then to do it. That's crazy. And so, of course, it makes sense. He's sad. And then we cut to this beautiful scenery. I forget if this planet has a name. We see it again at the beginning of Avengers Endgame. And I do not remember if it has a name. I feel like I should remember that. But it's just this gorgeous... He said he wanted to find a farm or somewhere quiet to rest out the end of his days or something like that. This is where he's found. It's beautiful. Lonely as all heck. He's on his own here. But beautiful. Okay, just before we move on, I love the fact that right where I cut back in, I'm going to go back and play that again, but we have the cry of a bird or some other kind of creature. You hear the rustling of the trees. Like, we've gone from fighting, clashing, armor, guns, power blasts, all that kind of thing, magic. We've gone from that to the silence as people disappear, and we come back into nature. It's this weird thing where it's almost like nature has won, except through extremely unnatural methods. So has nature really won, or is nature now just benefiting? But it's just an interesting thing. This is a dark thought, but it just reminded me of those reports of dolphins coming back into the canals of Venice at the beginning of the pandemic. And I think it is an extraordinary insight into how much we affect the world around us. Now, I do not support wiping out half the life in the universe. Pandemic was a terrible thing to have happen. But I think it is a lesson on how much we impact what is around us. I think that's fair to say. Anyway. Oop. The gentle timpani, too. Dum dum dum. In the background. It's such a lovely, there's just a sense of rhythm, or at least of recognizing that time is passing, because we don't necessarily have a sense of rhythm here. It's that's going to come in a moment when the rest of the string section joins in. But it's just this echo, this sound in the back. It's so perfectly played. It's the balance of it in that it's quiet, it's distant, it's lovely. Not sure what that was. You get the violas and the violins coming in at that point in time, and you get this quite heartfelt melody with this gorgeous, rich harmonic accompaniment going on here. And yet we're seeing the bad guy, but he's wounded, he's limping, he's just gone through the exertion of using the Infinity Stones, which has ravaged him. And it's such an interesting choice to play poignant with him on the screen. And he's walking into the light too. Multiple metaphors possible there, but I love that it's just we see him coming from the darkness and this light is already coming in as we pass by it. And then he walks into it as he enters, the front of his porch of this little farmhouse. And you get, sorry, I keep stopping. You get just the hint of his armor in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen there. There's no pride, he's displaying it, it's his armor, but there's no pride at this point. It's a scarecrow in a field. It's not a trophy on display. We're just seeing it in the background in and amongst the plants that are around here. That is also a really interesting choice. He's vulnerable now. And his armor is not something... It's there, it's close by, but it's not being displayed proudly. Sorry, I'm not sure why I'm getting these little blips. This is such a sad line. And the fact that this is all written in a minor key as well just emphasizes that. But that lovely da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's impactful. It's trying to get at emotions that we do not necessarily... We associate with failure, almost, in terms of how we view them in a movie. Like in an action movie, the sad violins is when something bad happens. And of course it has. But the fact that that is being played in the context of this character, you know, there's a loneliness that it speaks of. There is that sadness there. And yet, you know, just seeing where it's going to go is great. That whole phrase there, da 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 da. One, just, excuse me, I apologize. Beautiful harmony. But also notice that the first thing, as the first note plays, he sighs. And as the last note plays, his shoulders go down. So subtle. That whole 4-chord phrase is his sigh. One long extended release after so long of maintaining the tension of trying to achieve this seemingly impossible goal. Even though he had the confidence that he would achieve it, at all times he believed he would. It's such an astonishingly hard to do thing that of course he was tense. And it's a side you don't see relief or vulnerability in Thanos really at any point throughout this. The only point you see vulnerability is the moment where he realizes he has to sacrifice Gamora to get the Soul Stone. And it's on... The expression is there for maybe 2-3 seconds, and then it's immediately replaced by resolve, and he doesn't hesitate. He goes straight through with it. And it's only here that the guard comes down and stays down, and we have that lovely, rich 4-note descending figure to mark that moment. Sorry, these blips are really annoying. One thing I should say, oh my goodness, Josh Brolin. The mocap, the performance he's done for Thanos here, that they have based this character on, the CG character on. There is so much emotion in this face. I'll come back to the overall discussion, but I love we have that da-da-dum, da-da-dum. There's this uncertainty of he's let the tension go. Where is he now? Over those 2 little phrases. There's the curl of the lip there. You just see a little bit of a curl, but there's nothing set yet. Drops, he's just watching, and then the smile comes on this resolution. And it's so small. There's no big grin. It's not a gleeful victory. It's the smile of a day's work, or many years' work, done and done satisfactorily. It's so small. And yet, it expresses everything we need to know about where he is in that moment. And I remember when I saw this in the movies for the first time, I was very bad up until the last year or so. I would watch a lot of theory videos, people discussing what they thought was going to happen. And the reason for that was I didn't really watch... I read a lot of comics when I was younger. I watched the 97 X-Men and some Spider-Man on TV. And I read a few comics, I don't know, 10 years ago. But I was never into them. And so I watched these breakdown videos specifically looking for references in the trailers that I was missing because I didn't have the comic book history to underscore that. Having since watched some reactions to Marvel movies, and the last couple of movies I've seen, in particularly Wakanda Forever, which I saw a few days ago, without having done that, I'm grateful that I had the context going in, because I was able to understand the movies, and I often went with people who didn't know the comic book canon terribly, even less than I did, and I was able to fill in some blanks the moment the movie was over and explain things where friends were a bit confused. At the same time, I realized the wonder and astonishment and shock that I slightly took away from myself by spoiling some things. And so I went into this pretty sure that it was going to end one of two ways. Either the snap was going to happen, which it did, the snap being him snapping his fingers to wipe out half the life in the universe, or it was going to end on a cliffhanger where there was only one Infinity Stone left for him to get. So I went into this, and it wasn't surprising. It was incredibly shocking in the moment. It wasn't surprising to me that the snap happened. But it was so emotionally draining, seeing the way they filmed the characters that did get dusted go through that experience. I was a wreck at the end of this movie, and then that played, and I did not take in anything. I just saw him sit down. And I didn't see all the subtlety in this performance, and that's why I wanted to go back and look at it again through my newly analytical lens. I feel like in the last 3 months of doing these reaction videos, I've come to analyze visuals just as much as music, so much more. And that's why I thought this would be an interesting thing to cover. But I'm just going to go back and play sort of the last 15 seconds or so of this again. And just... This is the end of one of the biggest action blockbusters ever. And I would stand by, as a film, as a piece of cinematic art, this is better than Endgame. For fan service, Endgame wins hands down, and there's definitely some extremely emotional moments in Endgame that hit just as hard, if not harder, than this. But I think as a piece of cinematic art, this film is not only an extraordinary and very unexpected, because of who the subject is, extraordinary look at the arc of a protagonist. It is also an extremely accomplished piece of filmmaking. And this is how they end it. Isn't that beautiful? It happened in the movie the first time I saw it, and my immediate reaction was, oh no, I want to go back and see that ending again. Because what just happened, musically speaking, that's not the big, pompous, grandiose end. But it's not an example of a film that goes out not with a bang but with a whimper. It goes out with an enormous bang. Not a very loud one. It's kind of fascinating. Also, one more thing I just wanted to comment on. I love also, going back to this sigh, listen to the quality of the cello at the end of that 4-note descending figure, and then on the final note. Dark, ominous, starts loud, fades out. Settled, complete, finished, satisfying, starts quiet, swells to the climax. What a fascinating contrast. Even though the violin is playing the melody at that point in time, or the viola, I'm not sure which. Sorry, I said cello, didn't I? I meant double bass. I'm sorry, I hope that didn't throw anyone off. I'll put a note to mark that. The double bass there is, I think, such a fascinating contrast in the how an instrument is used. because you get two completely different tones from it. And yes, the first note is the dominant. It's incomplete. It's preparing for a resolution. Essentially, that is the beginning of a perfect cadence that resolves with the last note. It's just there's a bunch of stuff in the middle. But the way that the two notes are played is just extremely evocative of what is happening and what we're supposed to feel in the moment. Uncertainty. When he sighs, he releases the tension. What's going to happen? To he's satisfied. We get this beautiful, perfect finish. And now, those who've been watching me for a little while will have expected this probably from the moment they heard the ending of this. Let's just listen to this last chord. Two key things, actually, those final chords. A lovely sustained fourth with the that passing note going into the final chord, and it's a tierce to Picardy. We have this gorgeous minor sound that has followed us throughout the entire 48 seconds that have preceded that note, and the resolution, and this right here is one of the best tierce to Picardys or Picardy thirds I have ever heard, because of how unexpected it is, because of what just happened, how that... Now, the one thing, I may have been expecting the potential of Thanos snapping. I did not expect that shot to be the end of the movie. That's the shot where you see that happen, and then we cut back to 2 weeks later, and we see things coming back together somehow, because something's gone right. And the movie just stops. That's bananas. And it's just that beautiful, rich chord just played by the strings that we just get left on. And there's that lovely little swell, we bring it up, we close it off, and we leave it. And that's the end of the film. I can't think of the last time that a piece of music at the end of a film affected me so much that 4.5 years after I saw it, I'm sitting here and I just thought, I have to make a video and talk about this piece of music. And it's a 52-second piece of music, and I've been talking for half an hour. Well, 24 minutes once you take off my intro, whatever it happens to be, that's a guess. I just can't get over how good this is. This soundtrack did some great things for Alan Silvestri. He got a Grammy nomination out of it for Best Instrumental... Oops. What was it? I looked into this briefly. Best Instrumental Composition. And the soundtrack got to 92 on the US Billboard 200. Which is really extraordinary. There's a lovely quote, and I think it's so perfect to the tenor of this piece of music specifically, where he said it was a really different experience. This is a quote. Was a really different experience than anything I'd done before, especially in regard to the approach and balancing quick shifts in tone. If this isn't the most perfect example of a tonal shift that is used just perfectly, I don't know what is. I'm going to leave this there because I've been talking about this for a very long time, but I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've got something out of it. I was able to share a little bit of my understanding and my love of this piece of music with you. Let me know what you think about this format. Is this cool? There's a lot of pieces of music I say a lot. Probably a dozen pieces of music that I've been recommended over the course of my reacting career where I'm like, yeah, that's great. I know that. I've heard that. So I can't react to it for the first time. There are a couple of loopholes in there, actually. I'm a big Nightwish fan, but I've never actually heard Fleur Jansen sing Ghost Love Score. I've only really heard the stuff that she did after she joined the band, not her singing the old stuff, so I think I might do that one. I know that's quite popular among reactors, but I'm also just really interested to hear the differences between hearing her sing it and Tadia. But what do we think about the idea of me doing videos where I don't react, I just analyze like this? Is this enjoyable to you folks? Let me know in the comments. I would love to know. Should I try and do a complete watch through? I mean, I guess I could do it and then remove it if the video gets, but I'd have to sort of upload it a few days in advance of when I want it to release just to make sure if it's going to get blocked or not. I could see this getting blocked if I played it through the whole... I mean, at the same time, it's only 52 seconds of music, but I don't know if the algorithm is that aggressive. I feel like it probably is, especially with Marvel and Disney. But let me know what you think. I would be very interested to know. Thank you for staying with me through this, assuming you're still here. I really appreciate that. Please do like the video, subscribe to my channel for more reactions and analyses, and hit that notification bell if you'd like to. And don't forget, buymeacoffee.com/DavidKReacts if you would like to donate to help the channel. And thank you so much for watching this video with me. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful night, morning, evening, whatever time it happens to be. And I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.